Welcome to Speaking Prowess, the show that supercharges your communication and fuels unstoppable success. Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, elevates leaders into unforgettable communicators who command the room and inspire action. Alongside him is Schilling, the authentic connector, a business growth expert with 40 years of experience, empowering audiences to rise higher, succeed faster, and thrive with purpose. Together, they bring you the strategies, insights, and inspiration to amplify your voice, expand your influence, and unlock your true potential. This is Speaking Prowess. Your journey to communication mastery starts now.
5, 4, 3,
Scott, good afternoon. How are you, my friend?
I am absolutely fabulous. I wish I could speak. I'm absolutely fabulous and just excited for another great show.
Absolutely. So am I. I'm extremely excited because we have two incredible human beings. Let's go ahead and bring them on. Marla and Ed. Good afternoon to you all.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So today's topic is one that it's pretty interesting. Speak with power. Let's start with that. What does that mean? Speak with power. Do I need a bullhorn? How do I speak with power?
Well, first you have to ground yourself on the ground. So it really comes from being grounded and being fully in your body. I'm so about that. The energy is what it's all about, right? Your words are important, but they're only what they say 7, maybe 10% of your communication. And so, yeah, words are important, but it's that energy that makes you so powerful, the confidence, the grounding. And there's a lot more to it, of course, but just the top of the message is that just really, really get grounded and learn how to master your energy.
Marla, love that comment. And I also believe, Sifu, around your question, there's the power of the why. And I just got off of interviewing 150 leaders, and that was one of the threads that I heard, is that people in middle management weren't getting the why, and it really diffuses the message. There isn't power behind it. There's weakness. So the power behind the why are we doing what we're doing, and then the how, and then the what.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The reality, I think, when you're really speaking with power, there's a conviction behind it. You have an ownership in the topic. You are vested in sharing a message that, in fact, can serve many other people. But more than likely, you have lived at some time. Your mess became your message, and because you've had the personal experience, that now gives you the power to be of service to others by delivering that message.
Yeah, it's funny. I just spoke in Arizona, and one of the videos that I use, and I did this when I spoke at the Goal Achievers Summit also. This video, you have to go watch it. It's, I think, Michael Jr. He's a comedian, but he had someone in his audience, and they were a person who taught voice and singing. And of course, they had a gorgeous voice. So he asked him to sing Amazing Grace. And he sang it, and it sounded really good. And the audience is like, yeah, this is really good. And then he said, okay, now sing it like you just got shot in the back, or your uncle's in jail and you're on the corner in your neighborhood as a kid. Sing it from that place. And it was so powerful. This was hundreds of people in the audience, all standing, all coming up, wanting to hug him. And what Michael said was, now you sung it from your why. And it's an embodied place. It's about your why. It's so important, whatever message it is, to come from that place. Absolutely.
I love this topic because and you all talked about it, you touched upon it. The conviction is the one that I think really generates the power. What is the feeling that you have when you open your vocals, when you open that mouth, or when you say it softly? What is the difference that someone is going to hear? Because you can speak with power, but be by yourself. It doesn't land except for you. And we should speak to ourselves. That doesn't mean we're crazy, does it? It just means that we need to hear ourselves sometimes, right?
Yeah.
If you think back before headphones became a thing, right? Where people were walking around and talking, you would see somebody and they would be talking, and you like, oh, they're a lunatic, they're crazy, they're talking to themselves. But now we see it consistently all over. You go to a mall, somebody's just on the. I was working out the other day at the gym, and some guy's walking back and forth, and he's having a conversation, and I'm like, maybe if he focused on working out, he wouldn't be dropping the weights. He's focusing on talking. So think about the power of your voice, and the real power is the message that lands. To me, I believe that's the reality of the power of your voice. Does it make a difference for someone else? Or does it take something away from them?
Sifu, this is coupled to what you just said. I think of data makes people nod, but stories move people, right? And everyone on the screen here has a story to tell that's deeply connected, to them, but connects to others. And everyone in the audience today has a story to tell, and there's just this power behind coupling emotion with that story. Could be a personal story or a story, that moves people, but that resonates and that creates power.
That's where that ownership comes in. It's being able to pull back from the actual emotion that you lived through during that situation, and understanding that. And I also think many times I teach the concept of high intention, low attachment. High intention of imparting something great for each and every person in the audience, a low attachment as to what that means for me or for them, quite frankly. And when you have that intention behind it, the intention is the big part of the why, but you don't want anybody to have to live. Experience is a great teacher, just a very expensive teacher. You don't want anybody to have to live that same experience for those same reasons. If they can borrow yours, it makes a whole lot of sense to be able to convey it, especially as a professional speaker.
Yeah. I teach how to tell stories, because a lot of people get out there and they have a very inspiring story, but they're too in it and they're not really making it about the audience. And there's a balance, because you want to be emotional with it and be congruent with your tone and your body language, but yet not be telling it as if you're in it. So it's really an art. And a lot of people I see getting that wrong. They get out there and they tell their story, and then they think, well, now you should want to, know more because I told you my story, and I have so much resilience and I got through this, and that's great. But you really have to make it about your audience, and that's when it really has the power. And it's a balance of emotion, and they may not have lived the exact same thing, but if you're in the right audience, they've lived something similar that they can relate to and see themselves in you.
I think there's also a lot of power, and it's great if it's something that you personally experience, but if you could take something that the audience can relate to, that's a fairly consistent situation, challenge, problem of the audience,
Sure.
and relate even from a third party standpoint of, hey, my buddy Sifu went through something and it was such an amazing story. When he hurt his shoulder, he had surgery. And what was amazing about it wasn't the surgery, it was the recovery. He didn't let anything, the doctor told him it was going to take forever. He said, oh no, it's going to take hardly any time at all because of his dedication. Sometimes you can be that third party advocate for a situation, and that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stories. I mean, you know, you can tell an everyday story that's, people think it has to be a trauma story. It doesn't have to be a trauma or even overcoming something major. Telling a story about going to the gym, or when you went out to dinner, or getting stuck in an airport, you know, all those things that most of us have experienced ourselves. And if you can make it humorous and make them laugh, then you get them to relax. And then whatever message you have afterwards really gets in, because they're already relaxed in their mind and their body. So that's another type of story that can go over really well.
Marla, it reminds me of, you know, what I learned from the leaders that I interviewed. One of the concept with all the technology that we have today and the pressures that we're under is just be more human, right?
Yeah.
Have more empathy, listen deeply, talk less, right? But there's power in talking less, and in that listening and that empathy and that human connection. And we're talking about human connection here. So I just thought that was a beautiful thing that you conjured up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you say talking less, so there's a couple things that brings to mind for me. One is, and I've been really guilty of this myself at times, is people over explain things and they think, well, if I just say a little bit more about it, then they'll understand. But that just confuses people. And it's not because people are dumb. It's because we're all bombarded with information. And it's really important to be precise and concise with your words so they can really land. And then the other part about not speaking as much is pauses. Speakers just go on and on and on and on and on, and they don't take the pause. And those pauses are really helpful as a speaker to give you a little break, but it gives your audience time to take in what you're saying. It emphasizes what you just said. So the pauses, you know, are going to be somewhat strategic, but those pauses are important. It makes a huge difference.
I just pulled out a video that I'd like to share with everybody on the power of communication, if you will. And it starts at home. Take a look. No sound.
I was going to say, are we supposed to be hearing him? Just his motions alone was good enough, but
that's the beauty of it, right? Because you can see his intention. You can see the energy. You can see his conviction. And he was proving to himself that he can do it. Yet so many professional speakers don't practice. Scott, you're currently at an event and there's a couple of people speaking and you're probably speaking. And Scott's an incredible speaker. I've had the chance to see him in person. And when you look at somebody who is well practiced, well versed, they don't have to look at slides. They don't have to look at things to know what the true meaning is that is inside, that has to come out. So I believe the greatest speakers out there have practice, yet they don't need anything special because it's already lived inside of them. So I think that's where the true power, to speak with power, you have to kind of have gone through it, just like that kid did. He went through it. And we don't know if that was acting. Maybe he was doing practicing for a play. Maybe he was doing it just because one of his family members said, hey, I need a video. Can you do this? We don't know what the context of that was, but he did a beautiful job because he used his hand gestures, his facial expressions, and whatever he was saying was not as important as the power behind what he was saying.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Back in the day, I used to watch my dad practice speaking to himself in a mirror. And I just watched him one day, and same thing. He was doing his gesturing, he was doing his facial expressions, he was doing everything. And I just asked, "Why are you doing this?" And he said, "When I look at myself in the eyes, it's like me looking at an audience member in the eyes. And now, because I get to do this in front of a mirror, I get to see what they get to see." And, sometimes we say words and we make funny faces that we don't realize we make until you get in front of a mirror and practice it. And then all of a sudden you go, "Oh, that's not very congruent," right? The face that, I'm trying to be happy and entertaining and intentional, and it looks like I'm mad. I can't give a mad face, right? So I used to watch my dad do that, and I never understood it for a long time. And then when you have the opportunity to do it yourself and to get out there, you realize. I was actually backstage with Brian Tracy one day, and I said, "Brian, I got this new presentation. It's about 2 hours, and I feel like I'm nailing it, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be connecting." He said, "It takes 8 hours for every 1 hour of presentation to get it down." And I said, "Awesome." And he said, "So now it's 16 hours for the first 50 times." So it was 16 times 50. And he said, "Until you've done it that many hours, you won't have it down." And it was one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever got from somebody, is understanding that it's probably an 8-to-1 ratio times 50. It's a 400-to-1 ratio. And so it's the exact same thing. When you're doing your 30-second introduction to somebody, people try to pop off this 30 seconds because it's only 30 seconds. Well, if you would put 400 times 30 seconds into it, you'll have it perfected. And all of a sudden people will go, "Wow, they are so good." And they are so good because they simply practiced it. That's the practice. Actually, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You got to do it the right way.
Exactly. You got to learn those skills. It's funny what you're saying about the body, Sifu, because what I usually do is I show a picture of the Blue Man Group, because I have a great picture of me next to his face is totally blue, he's dressed in blue, and his eyeballs are like this big. It's hilarious. But, such a great example, because they do an hour and a half show and never say a single word. It's all through.
Amazing, for sure.
And we know the stories they're saying. We laugh, we cry, we get entertained, and they don't say a single word. It's all expression and body language and action. And, it's a great example of how important that is.
Scott and Marla, I think about, I just wrote down an arc, but I think about preparation that we talked about, but also visualization. How are you going to visualize, almost like Michael Phelps and all the visualization he did to succeed, and then practice, and then performance. And then I'd say lastly, a great speaker coach for me actually said, "Don't worry about it. No one knows what you're going to say."
Yes.
But if you've done all the work, then everything's in alignment and you're going to crush it. So that it's an arc to me, but it's all the things that we've been saying.
Yeah, that's really important. And I tell people all the time, they want to say, now there's better and better teleprompters, even for your computer. And I've had clients say, "Oh, I just need to get my teleprompter set up." I'm like, no, don't do that. Because even if you practice so much that you're almost regurgitating the script, people can feel that. So you want to practice, and then let it go. And then it just really comes from your heart and your body and what you really feel and what you really know inside. And it's so much more powerful when you do that than just memorizing something. Yeah.
Marla, I have to say that I've been to many events where somebody says, they get announced, and then they take out their phone and they're like, "Let me tell you about their phone." And I'm like, "Why are you even on stage? If you don't know the message,
Yeah.
why are you here trying to deliver something that it's not inside of you?"
Yeah.
Because you could have just sent us those notes, and we'd be okay. We probably would be happier if we did that, way happier. And so many people, same thing. I coach a lot of speakers and presenters and so forth, and I've gotten a lot of people to stop using slides with 1,000 words.
Oh,
And I'm like,
absolutely.
why do you have so many words? Oh, well, because I'm like, so you're gonna read that? You're gonna turn your back to your audience and you're gonna read that. So
Worth.
how powerful is your speech? I said, and even if you put it up there and don't read it, what do you think people are gonna do? They're either gonna take a picture because you're talking too fast, and then you're taking away from the moment of them being present. And if you're not allowing people to be present, they will forget you because they never remember you. So I think
I think.
go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was gonna piggyback that. Probably a year and a half ago, because we do so many video presentations these days, right? We don't have as many live opportunities, but we have a ton of video presentations. And probably a year and a half ago, I stopped doing PowerPoints on video presentations, period. There are no PowerPoints. And what it does a number of things as a presenter. It allows the whoever the host is to pin you. So now all of a sudden you become it's almost like you're on a stage because you're the only visual that people can see. And the other side of it is it allows you to convey you own the message. And it's amazing. I noticed it actually in a couple of presentations this week, or a couple of meetings that I run, that somebody came on and presented with a PowerPoint. And all of a sudden it turns them into a small little box. And the PowerPoint is the dominant visual, and as opposed to the person who is the expert. And so again, one of the things that I would suggest people at least consider is getting to the point where you own your material so well that you don't need a PowerPoint on a video presentation. I don't even really do it in live situations much anymore. Or if I do, there's so little content on the slides. It's more a matter of just to keep people, people like visual things. It's more a matter of that than anything else.
Exactly. This is so important because so many people use PowerPoint wrong, and they do put too much on the slide, and then they have a little decoration. It's like a template from PowerPoint. So old school, so old school. It's so funny though, Scott, because I never used to use slides. It would always just be me talking. I take volunteers, I do activities, I make it really interactive. But what I realized is that, first of all, now I know how to make really good slides, and it is mostly just images. Like I said, the Blue Man Group, when I put that on there, or I put on things that, evoke emotion with maybe a phrase, maybe not even any words. But people are visual, and people do lose interest easily, even if you're a great speaker. So I call it stagecraft. So I use music, I use slides, I use visuals, I use videos with sound, videos, all kinds of things to add to the experience. Now, if I'm only speaking for 5 or 10 minutes, I may not do that, but anything longer than that, I will definitely use them now. So it's funny, I've gone the opposite way, but there's a definite art and science to how to do them. And it can really help. And now you can create such great visuals too. Before, we didn't have the capability with AI to create really nice visuals and very cool stuff.
Marla, you need to trademark stagecraft. That word is beautiful.
Yeah, stagecraft is great. But let me share with you, we're having an event, right? And Ed's going to be part of it. And every one of these people who are going to be on are not necessarily using slides when we do our 7-hour summit. Why? Because I'm running it. And one of the caveats was, if you need to use a lot of slides and stuff of that nature, we may not want you on it. So for me, I've been to so many events where I'm a speaker and they're like, where's your slide deck? I'm like, do I need one? They're like, well, all the other I'm like, yeah, I don't need one. I'm the product. I'm the message. I'm the messenger. Why should I hide behind something? Now, don't get me wrong. I have done presentations where I'll show an image, just like I shared with you this image, right? Because it tells you on this date, this is going to happen. And the reason I played the video before was to create a subject matter to talk about. But I think a lot of people forget the part where even Scott talked about it, that he no longer is doing it. And I know the presentation he was talking about the other day, because it seemed like they didn't know how to do it either, because it was their slide and then all their little slides on the side. And what winds up happening is you're no longer listening to them. You know what you're doing? You're trying to read every slide. And what happens with that is we're taking away from the real message. So, and when I work with speakers, what I say to them is, do you have slides? And they're like, yes. I said, how many? And I'm like, okay. I said, do me a favor. Show me all the slides right now. So they show me all the slides. And I say, why do you use this one? Why do you use that one? What is this one? What is that? What does that tell me? And then they start reading it. And I'm like, stop reading it. I said, now take all the words out. Show me just the image. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, so what do you want me to get out of this? Do you want me to read it? Or do you want to give me the message? Because for me, reading it, you should, like I said earlier, just send it to me. You won't waste my time.
Yeah,
right?
totally
I
agree.
read it faster than you can anyway, but you know.
I feel like it's the ultimate in confidence. And here's what I'm getting at. Everything fails. Teleprompter fails, mic fails, you know, PowerPoint fails somehow, projector doesn't work. Can you stand in front of the room and convey your message? Sifu, exactly as you just said. But like, you can walk into any situation, you're like, I can handle this. If anything fails, it's me. And it always should be you. But it gives you that ultimate confidence of standing in front of a room of 30 or 300 and yelling through a megaphone, right?
Scott, you and I were at an event, and it was 160 people. We created we're both world record breakers, right? When you handed me the microphone, what was different?
Well, everybody else, when we handed them the microphone, they just stood up from their chair and stood next to their table. Not Sifu. Sifu got up on his chair so that he could be seen by the front of the room, because we were in the back of the room at the time, which we did purposely to get attention, to get people to turn around. But he stood up on the chair to create his own stage so he could share the message. It was very powerful, by the way.
Thank you. But I got to tell you, there were a lot of emotions that happened when I stood up on the chair. And I'm going to tell you the emotions I've already heard. Some people were like, oh my God, I can't believe he's standing in the chair. Other people like, wow, good for him, right? Excellent. And now here's what happened. People reached out to me who didn't know me before because of the message I delivered. And now they are looking to work with me, right? So I got some business. All I did was stand on the chair. Like I said, I am the product. And if I cannot be proud of the product, I should not present the product.
Yeah, that's the most important thing for sure. Now, if you were wearing high heels, you may not have stood on that chair. Well, and a skirt, you know, I'm just saying.
And wait a second, who says he wasn't wearing high heels and a skirt? I'm just saying.
Oh man, I wish I was
Which
there.
that could have been part of the reaction too. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
No,
well,
it was really powerful because again, and one of the reasons we did it is because every time, as Raquel and I, as the MCs would speak, we were speaking from stage. And what we realized is the back of the room didn't have as much opportunity to engage in what was said. So when we had an opportunity, we purposefully keyed our mics at the back of the room and started talking. Everybody was looking on stage going, where are these guys? We don't even know where they are. And then all of a sudden they spun around and saw us in the back. So it created a whole nother thing, which then created, again, part of it is engagement with the audience, right? Is you got to get people thinking and dialed into what's going on. And that's exactly when Sifu stood up on a chair. He took command of the room, and that's what a powerful speaker does. They don't do it with ego or arrogance. They do it with confidence. They do it with command, and that's exactly what he did in that situation, and it was extremely powerful.
It's funny. Somebody said you were standing on the table because they were in the front of the room, so they thought I was actually on the table. And so I said, no, I was on the chair. They're like, we thought you were on the table the whole time. But so think about, we're talking about speak with power, right? And the second part of what we're going to be talking about today is also connect with purpose. And we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I think that your words can help you connect to someone else, to bring someone else into your story, to encapsulate them into what you're looking to accomplish.
yeah, there's so many ways to do this, right? To me, I always go back to that embodiment piece, because that's when you are we're so intellectual, we're up in our heads, we're thinking, we got our to-do list, we got our critical mind, we got all this stuff up in here. And when it sounds kind of woo-woo, but it's really practical if you know how to really embody your energy. And when you speak from this place, it just connects more deeply to other people, and it gives them permission to get out of their cluttered mind and connect with you. A lot of people say speak from the heart. I say speak from the heart and the gut. When you connect those two, it's really, really powerful. So that's one thing. And language is interesting because people respond to different types of language. So if you can encompass, the audio words, the visual words, the kinesthetic words, those kinds of things, that's another way that you can connect to more people. I think the embodiment piece is the most important, but then there's the languaging, and there's the storytelling, and there's, how you, it's funny, years and years ago, old school again, they used to say either picture people in their underwear, or they would say, look above everybody and look around. You just constantly look around so everybody feels like you're looking at them. But what's really powerful and connecting is when you look at one person at a time until you get a reaction. It might be a blink, it might be a nod, it might be a smile, any kind of something that tells you that your message landed with that person. And then everybody, it could be hundreds of people, everybody feels it. They feel that connection. Then you go to another person and you look right at them until the message lands, instead of like always trying to look at everybody. And then it feels like you're not looking at anybody.
You're
Marla,
doing this
really,
with your head.
Marla, this couples exactly with what you're saying, and it's a flip on the word purpose. So sometimes when we think about purpose, it's a self-purpose, right? It's my purpose. Mm-hmm. But the flip is everyone in the audience, what is their purpose, right? And really thinking deeply about them and the value that can be created, in purpose that's created for them. And it's exactly what you're saying, the one by one, how can I impact and create value for people that's based on their purpose. So it's just a different way, at least for me, to think about purpose.
Yeah.
It's it.
Scott.
Go ahead, Steve. I was going to say back in the day, I was doing a 21,557 words twice a day, and you get to the point where you nail the words, and afterwards we would always debrief. What'd you like? What'd you learn? How could we do this better? And people said, I'm not feeling you. And the better I got at 21,557 words, the less they were feeling. And so I actually watched video and went to a couple live events of a friend of mine who I won't mention, who is not necessarily classically the best speaker, but he absolutely is the best at connecting with the audience. And I watched the things that he did to make those connections. And so I incorporated that. Now I had the content base, and all of a sudden I had the connection to a much deeper level. It's not like I wasn't connected. It's just a much deeper level of connection. And it's amazing. So Marla, as an example, when I teach speakers about eye contact, many things say 3 to 5 seconds. I teach 5 to 8 seconds. You look at somebody for 5 to 8 seconds. Again, for you, it's registration. It's probably a very similar time frame in that. And then you don't move either on stage or body position unless you move with a purpose. There's no need to, this is fun to watch somebody do this all day, isn't it? And I mean, you get seasick as you're trying to chase them around the stage, And so again, it's moved with a purpose. It's 5 to 8 seconds of visual contact. And there were a bunch of different things that I learned that I do to this day. And it's phenomenal that just it is a science, but it is actually also an art. And you've got to incorporate both the science of speaking with the art of speaking. And when you do that, that's when you speak with power and you connect with purpose.
Yeah. It's because, so many people pace or they shift their weight, and that just makes you seem like a shifty person. So you definitely don't want to do that. But what I tell people is, because they're like, well, when do I move? So to me, it's like you land, you ground yourself, and you say a concept or a paragraph. And then when you go to the next thought, that's when you move. So it's really congruent with your words. But I want to talk about the connection piece just a little bit more, because I think something that's huge, it took me a while to learn years ago, and that is how to receive the audience. Because we're givers. A lot of the speakers are givers, and we want to give, and we're just, our energy is going out. But it's really important to receive energy. And even if I don't see my audience and I'm on a podcast or something like that, like even now, I imagine the people that are out there, and I'm open to their energy. And certainly when I can see them, the thing is having situational awareness. It's really paying attention, who's on their phone, or who's shifting their weight, and, who's, maybe looking like something is triggering them, all kinds of things that you can notice about people. And usually we're so like in our material that we don't notice. And it's really a skill that you want to build. And then also the intention of receiving the people and the energy.
One of the things that Scott and I are going to be doing is we're going to be doing a couple of master classes on communication. And that's going to be happening soon enough. And we may be asking you guys to participate. So let us know if that's something that may be interest to you. So considering connecting and with purpose, if you guys don't mind, I want to share a story with you. I teach Chinese Kung Fu. And in Chinese Kung Fu, my grandmaster spoke zero English. So can you imagine learning from somebody who didn't know the language and you had to figure it out? So I'm sitting in Chinatown in New York City with two different masters and a white guy who happens to be a Jewish white guy, and me, and there's a couple of other people. And the two Chinese masters wanted to communicate, yet they spoke different dialects.
Mm.
And they were from different villages in China. So guess what happened? My friend at the time spoke both their dialects fluently, and he interpreted for them. Now he's a white guy interpreting for two Chinese guys, and they're looking at him. So the communication there was pretty intense, and it was for all of us, because guess what? We're all asking, what did he say? And the other Chinese guy's waiting for him to tell him what he said too. And so it was really intense because he was speaking two different Chinese, if you will. They were so different. It was pretty interesting. Yet he was able to, in his brain, switch from one to the other and then back to English. So three languages were going on in him. And it was pretty fascinating. And when you can consider somebody who can communicate that way, my sister speaks 8 languages. She worked for the UN.
Wow.
And in the UN, you have to be able to be really good at them. So, but eventually she became a professor, and now she's very retired. But it's very interesting because she also traveled the world because she can speak the languages, because her husband was traveling the world, and instead of hiring interpreters, he told the companies to hire his wife. So communicating with purpose made a lot of sense for her, and made a lot of sense for this story of the two Chinese gentlemen to look at someone outside to help them communicate. So sometimes it's the message that we're delivering has to land for the person that we're speaking to. So when we connect with purpose, it should be to have understanding. And if we have understanding, then the communication becomes that much more clear.
Sifu, it's a great story. It reminds me when I interviewed leaders, it's not as stark as kind of international communication, but it's intergenerational communication. That folks that have, high experience were like, just get the job done. Like, what's wrong with this? They failed to do exactly what you say: listen, understand different communication styles, and how to break through the communication barriers. And it goes back to a lot of things that we said, listen deeply, change how you communicate, emphasize the why, not just the how. But to your point, it's how do you break down the communication barriers, whether it be culturally or whether it be, intergenerational as well.
Let me share one more video with you guys. Take a look at this one.
The city never sleeps, and neither do the dreamers who build its pulse. From every corner of the globe they come. Visionaries, creators, leaders, each carrying a spark ready to ignite the world. This is not an event, it's a revolution of rhythm and reason. A symphony of minds, a movement of momentum. Sifu, Rafael, Lancelot, Jose Escobar. Together they set the stage for brilliance. This is the NYC experience. Mastermind, light up the city. They coming from the east, coming from the west. Knowledge on deck, put the truth to the test. Leaders in motion, hearts in sync, dropping wisdom so deep it'll make you think. They bring stories, sweat and flame, different faces, one shared name. Elevation, that's the sound. NYC experience mastermind, where purpose is found.
There it is, where purpose is found, right? New York City experience. I got to tell you what a great conversation we've had. Guess what time it is? It is time to end the show.
No.
So I know. So do us a favor, book to come back again. Because Scott, am I right? Wouldn't we love to have them back?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, this is such an amazing topic, but it's got so many layers to it, and there's so much content, information, and value that they've already provided. Let's get some more.
Absolutely. So why don't we do this, right? Marla, we'll let you go first. Tell us, you have 45 seconds, what somebody can expect when they connect with you. And your information is going across the bottom.
Yeah, thank you. So I do have a masterclass coming up on June 25th. And this EIQ, it's not EQ, which is emotional intelligence. It is expressive intelligence, which is something that I coined, but it's something I've been teaching for years. I'm just putting more of a framework and specific steps on how to go through the evolution of expressive intelligence. It helps you speak from all parts of your personality, because we're all subduing parts that could make us more powerful and connect better to our audiences. So I do exercises. It's not me talking at you. It's going to be super fun and interactive. I hope you can make that. Sign up for that. And if you can't do that, then I'd love to have a chat with you. That's just speakwithmarla.com.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Marla. Ed, you're up, my friend.
Sure. Thank you, Sifu. I'm Ed Boudrot. I'm the founder of Human Ignition. I've done 150 leader interviews over the past 6 months, and I've built what I call the leadership operating system. And it's taking the pressure that we're under from, whether it be technology or how do we transform our organizations, and having solutions for that and building those with you as leaders. So I just want to say how grateful I am for today, and great to meet everyone. So thank you.
And by the way, he's a sharp-looking guy. He's going to be with us come August 21st. He's one of our speakers at our event for 7 hours. 7 hours, people. Guess what? Scott Schilling is a powerhouse. And Scott, tell us how people can connect with you.
It's pretty easy. I don't hide well. It's scott@scottschilling.com or scottschilling.com. And would love to be of service in any way. Classically, I'm a sales guy and a sales trainer, but when you've done 3,000 live speaking events, you probably can train a few speakers as well, as long as anybody who wants to deliver a message. Classically, I'm a messaging specialist, and people get very passionate about their solutions. They just don't always present them that well. And so would love to just have a conversation and explore the possibilities.
Absolutely. I am just like Scott, except he's better looking, younger looking, the whole deal. He's an amazing man. I'm easy to find also, SifuRafael.com. Can't get easier than that. And for me, it's about bringing people to stages, helping people become the best version of themselves, not only on a stage, but behind the scenes as well. Because there's so many parts of who we are. So don't be ashamed to let people know who you are. And if I can help you with that, it'd be an honor. Remember, Scott and I are going to be doing some master classes on communication. Make sure you stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up soon. So go to SifuRafael.com. That all information will be there, sure. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to ask a favor. Share this episode with somebody. Somebody needed to hear today's message, whether you're a brand new speaker, you're about to get on stage, you're a seasoned speaker. It doesn't matter what part of the circle you're in the circle. Just make sure you share this with somebody who needs to hear it. Thank you, everybody, for today. Really appreciate you. Scott, I know you're at an event, and it's going to be great because they're waiting for you to get back.
Thank you, Sifu. I appreciate it. You know, it's about the people in the room, and sometimes you just got to show up. It's amazing what happens.
Yes.
Everybody, God bless. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Have a fabulous day.